Hey, it's Sela Social Studies.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sela Social Studies. Okay, so far you've heard me say the 13th Amendment a couple of times during these videos. So now we're going to get into the Reconstruction Amendments and what the Reconstruction Amendments were. So we have three amendments that are known as the Reconstruction Amendments, and they are the 13th, 14th, and 15th. So the practice of the institution of slavery died when the Confederacy surrendered to the Union, ending the Civil War. And since there was that new set of those radical Republicans in Congress who were fighting to abolish slavery and to give these African Americans their long overdue rights as American citizens, Congress started to step up and do things. These Republicans were able to pass a series of amendments to the Constitution. Remember, our Constitution is living and breathing, and it can change any day as long as it passes Congress and through the government. And these three that we're going to talk about are known as the Reconstruction Amendments. If you hear somebody say something about the Reconstruction Amendments, these are the ones that they are, 13, 14, 15. And these amendments altered the history and the trajectory of African American rights in the United States, and they are still at the heart of legislation that is based on African American rights today, and they are still argued today. So these 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, remember, they are known as the Reconstruction Amendments. They happened during that time after the Civil War, known as Reconstruction, when the Union was readmitting those southern states back into the Union, and they were attempting to protect those newly freed African Americans in the South with the Military Reconstruction Act. And one way that I try to have people remember the Reconstruction Amendments is by basically saying a sentence that kind of makes sense. Okay, I believe it kind of makes sense. So you say the sentence, you have to be free to be a citizen to be able to vote. Okay, and that's kind of a sentence that puts those three amendments into one brief sentence. So we're going to start with the 13th Amendment here, which is on the screen. The 13th Amendment formally abolished slavery. It got rid of slavery in all the states and territories in which it previously existed. So this is the part of the sentence that says you have to be free. So slavery has ended and the slaves are freed with the passing of the 13th Amendment during Andrew Johnson's presidency. Okay, so the next amendment you have is the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment prohibited states from depriving any male citizen of equal protection under the law, regardless of race. It also said that no state may deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. So this made free male slaves citizens. They were now made citizens. So this is the part of the sentence that says, to be a citizen. So we've covered the have to be free to have to be a citizen. And if you remember what I said previously during Reconstruction, there was an argument in Congress between President Andrew Johnson, the guy from Raleigh, North Carolina, Abraham Lincoln's vice president, who became president after Lincoln was assassinated. And remember, those radical Republicans arguing back and forth. And if you remember correctly, I said that the radical Republicans had to try to figure out a way to cancel Johnson's veto power. So here's one of those examples. Republicans passed the Civil Rights Act 1866. The act said that people born in the United States are considered citizens regardless of race, color, and previous position. And what did Johnson do? He vetoed it. Congress overrides Johnson's veto because remember, they had that 2/3 majority, and they were feared that Johnson and the Democrats were going to go ahead and overturn this amendment again. So here is the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment states that all people born or naturalized in the United States, except Native Americans, as citizens. So we're still excluding the Native Americans here. It guaranteed citizens equal protection under the law. Stated that the states could not deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. It banned many Confederate officials from holding state or federal offices. It made state laws subject to federal court review, and it gave Congress the power to pass any laws needed to enforce this amendment. So this was a key issue during the 1866 congressional elections, and there was riots and violence that occurred in the North and in the South. And because, again, those radical Republicans won that two-thirds majority, they were able to override any presidential veto. Which brings us to the 15th Amendment. And the 15th Amendment granted the right to vote to free African American males. Remember, it is not females yet. Ladies do not get the right to vote until 1919, when the 19th Amendment is passed, between 1919 and 1920, whatever you want to call date that is proposed, date that it was approved. But the 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote. So the 15th Amendment, it grants the right to vote to free African American males. So this is the part of the sentence that says you have to be able to vote. So it says you have to be free with the 13th Amendment. You have to be a citizen, the 14th Amendment, to be able to vote in the 15th Amendment. So in order for all of these southern states to be readmitted into the Union, they needed to ratify the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. And the 15th Amendment goes into effect in 1870. So those are just the three Reconstruction Amendments. I want you to know those amendments. Those are important amendments to know. And then we're going to keep covering Reconstruction next.